Once a republic gets used to war without a declaration, and military action without a clear constitutional ownership, the habit forms fast. Congress gets used to ducking, and presidents get used to moving. And the public gets used to being told after the fact that all of this is normal. Well, then came the Cold War resolutions. In 1955, Congress passed the Formosa Resolution. This authorized President Eisenhower to use U.S. armed forces as he deemed necessary to protect Taiwan and related positions. Taiwan was then called Formosa. In 1957, Congress passed the Middle East Resolution. This was tied to the Eisenhower Doctrine, and that gave the president a statutory framework for military action in the Middle East, which clearly we're still doing today. These were not declarations of war, they were authorizations. They were real ones, they were legal ones, but still steps away from the plain constitutional model most Americans think we've been operating on this whole time. We haven't. It's been 80 years. And then Vietnam blew the whole thing wide open. In 1964, Congress passed the Gulf of Tonkin Resolution, and the language was classic Washington, right? Broad, forceful, conveniently elastic. It authorized the president to take, quote, all necessary steps, including the use of armed force, unquote. That's how vague power works. It sounds tough. It sounds responsible. It sounds temporary, and then it stretches. That's why this is not just a constitutional issue, what's going on in Iran. It's a moral issue. It's a moral issue within our government, because biblically truth matters. Honest weights and measures matter. Clear accountability matters. If a nation is going to send sons and daughters into danger, if we're going to spend our blood and our treasure and unleash the sword, then the people's representatives, Congress, should have the courage to speak plainly, not hide behind fog, not pass murky language and then pretend nobody could have foreseen how far it would have gone. No one could have known what would have happened. This is part of what makes ambiguous war powers so dangerous. They do not just shift authority, they dilute responsibility. And I think that's the real purpose. I think Congress has a history, 80 years of cowardice when it comes to war. They do not want to sign the dotted line. And we have to ask why. And I think that's the real question we need to ask here. We're arguing over the president's constitutional powers, and that's one part of it. But Congress paved the way. Congress is allowing this. And I think in this instance, and perhaps instances going all the way back to Korea, the buck really stops with Congress.